What would you think if I told you that the man who secured the future of judo was not just an ordinary judoka? He was, in essence, a warrior from another age, a samurai who carried in his blood the knowledge of a lethal combat art. His name was Saigō Shirō, and he was such an extraordinary fighter that his movements seemed to defy physics, and his favorite technique became a legend. But behind the myth lies a story marked by war, by an almost ancestral martial power, and by a character so indomitable that it propelled him to the top, and ultimately to his downfall. This is the story of Saigō Shirō, the genius nicknamed the Cat, and the technique that enshrined him as one of the most enigmatic figures in martial arts. By the end of this video, you'll understand the origin of the near-superhuman power that helped establish judo as Japan's supreme martial art. Martial might, where warriors live forever. To understand Saigō Shirō, we must travel back to a Japan in the midst of transformation. He was born in 1866 with the name Shiro in Aizu, a domain that was a stronghold of samurai tradition. His father, Shida Sadajiro, was a loyal samurai of the Aizu clan, a man who lived by the code of Bushido. But the world they knew was about to collapse. The Meiji Restoration swept across the country, dismantling the feudal system, and with it, the warrior class that had defined Japan for centuries. In 1868, during the Boshin War, the Aizu clan fought desperately to defend their castle and their way of life. In that bloody battle, Shiro's father fell, leaving the child orphaned at just 2 years old. Shiro grew up as the son of defeat, a remnant of a glorious era that had vanished. Yet samurai blood ran through his veins, and his martial destiny was already sealed. Raised in the heart of Aizu, a place renowned for its rigorous martial arts, he absorbed from childhood the spirit and discipline of the ancient warriors. This environment forged in him an instinctive and formidable martial foundation, knowledge not taught in public dojos, which years later would give him an almost supernatural advantage over his opponents. His small frame contained the spirit of the indomitable warriors of Aizu. Shiro's fate took a decisive turn when his story became intertwined with that of a figure of immense prestige, Saigo Tanomo. Tanomo had been none other than the chief counselor of the Aizu clan. Martial tradition and many sources claim that Tanomo adopted the young orphan, at which point Shida Shiro became Saigō Shirō. Though historical records of a formal adoption are debated, this connection with the Aizu leader was crucial in his life. This is where legend and history blend. It is said that under his adoptive father's guidance, Shiro was trained in the arts of Aizu. This training was the catalyst that awakened his genius. He learned to sense the flow of force, to anticipate his opponent's intentions, and to use their own energy against them. It was during these years that the seed of his future greatness was planted. Yet his relationship with the Saigo family appears to have been complex. When 1881, after a family dispute, a rebellious teenage Shiro left home and set out for Tokyo, carrying with him unique martial knowledge and an indomitable spirit. Upon arriving in Tokyo, Saigō Shirō, standing only 1.53 meters tall and weighing little more than 50 kilos, did not appear intimidating. Seeking a place to refine his skills, destiny brought him to the doors of a new and revolutionary school, the Kodokan, founded by a young master named Jigorō Kanō. In 1882, Shiro joined the Kodokan. Because of his immense talent and prior experience, Kano regarded him more as a collaborator than a mere student. In 1883, Jigoro Kanō created the Kyodan ranking system and awarded the first black belts in history. The two first men to receive this honor were Tsunejiro Tomita and Saigō Shirō himself. Shiro quickly became one of the 4 central figures of the Kodokan, an elite group known as the Kodokan Shitenno, or the 4 Guardians of the Kodokan, alongside Yoshiaki Yamashita, Sakujiro Yokoyama, and Tsunejiro Tomita. These 4 men were the pillars upon which judo's reputation was built. The trial by fire came in 1886 at the martial arts tournament of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police. This was not a mere competition. It was a battle for supremacy. The new Kodokan Judo would face off against the most respected Jujutsu school of the time, the Totsuka-ha Yoshin Ryu. The future of judo was at stake. Saigō Shirō was the star of the event. He faced much larger and heavier opponents, yet his skill was on another level. His agility was so astounding that he earned the nickname the Cat for his uncanny ability to always land on his feet, no matter how violently he was thrown. In one of his most celebrated matches, he faced the formidable Kotaro Enchi of the Totsuka school, whom Shiro defeated spectacularly. The Kodokan dominated the tournament, and Saigō Shiro's victory not only helped cement judo's superiority, but also turned him into a living legend. Amid his legendary victories, there was one technique in particular that defined Saigō Shirō, a move so powerful it became his signature, the Yama Arashi, translated as mountain storm. This was no ordinary technique. It was the culmination of his past, the secret of his power embodied in one devastating throw. The Yama Arashi was an explosive combination that fused elements of throws like harai goshi, sweeping hip throw, and seoi nage, shoulder throw, but executed with unique speed and principle. The key lay in his unorthodox grip and in the way he broke his opponent's balance. Many speculate that the effectiveness of the technique came from principles of the Aizu arts, which emphasized blending with and redirecting an opponent's energy. It did not rely on brute strength, but on perfect timing and a profound understanding of body dynamics. It was, in essence, a samurai secret unleashed in the modern world of judo. His opponents were left bewildered. In one famous match, he faced Shusaburo Sano, a jujutsu master so strong it was said he could bend iron bars and who had trained specifically to counter the Yama Arashi. Sano managed to block the first attempt and even threw Shiro, but the Cat escaped the hold and applied an arm lock that forced his opponent's submission. Recognizing the brilliance of the technique, Jigorō Kanō eventually incorporated Yama Arashi into the official Kodokan canon, ensuring the legacy of Saigō Shirō's Mountain Storm endured. Saigō Shirō stood at the pinnacle of the martial arts world. He was a hero, the secret weapon that had secured the Kodokan's prestige. But the same fire that made him a fearsome fighter also fueled a volatile temper and a samurai pride inherited from his ancestors. This would lead to his downfall. In 1890, while Jigorō Kanō was away, Shiro became involved in an infamous street fight. Sources recount that an intoxicated Shiro was provoked by a sumo wrestler named Araumi. True to his nature, Shiro did not back down and knocked out the burly sumo tori. However, the situation escalated into a brawl between Shiro's group and Araumi's fellow sumo wrestlers. The fight grew so violent that Shiro was arrested after allegedly throwing several policemen into a nearby river. When Jigoro Kanō returned and learned of the incident, he found himself in an impossible position. Though Shiro was his most talented student, the principles of judo, centered on character development, had been violated. With deep regret, Kano was forced to expel Saigō Shirō from the Kodokan. At just 25 years old, Shiro's judo career ended abruptly. He left Tokyo for Nagasaki, turning away from the world that had made him famous. There, he devoted himself to a quieter life, focusing on kyudo, the Japanese art of archery. Yet despite his retirement, his legend never died. He became the direct inspiration for the character Sugata Sanshiro in the first film of acclaimed director Akira Kurosawa, Sanshiro Sugata, solidifying his place in Japanese culture. Saigō Shirō passed away in 1922 at the age of 56. In a posthumous gesture of recognition for his immense contribution, the Kodokan awarded him 6th Dan, honoring the prodigy who was instrumental in the birth of modern judo. The story of Saigō Shirō is that of a comet that illuminated the martial arts sky with incredible intensity before fading. He was a bridge between two eras, a warrior with the soul of an Aizu samurai, and the hands of a judo genius. His knowledge of ancestral combat arts was not just an addition, but the true secret of his power, the source of the devastating mountain storm that secured the Kodokan's legacy. He was an imperfect genius, a man whose brilliance on the tatami was matched only by his temper off it, a prodigy forged in tradition who revolutionized judo forever. But one question remains. Saigō Shirō was the champion who defended the honor of the Kodokan when it needed him most. Was his expulsion truly fair, or was it too harsh a punishment for a man whose warrior spirit simply could not be contained? Let me know your opinion in the comments, and if you're passionate about these martial arts legends, subscribe so you don't miss the next story.